All right, good morning. And we are live. So, as I had mentioned yesterday in our last video about HUD homeownership program, I wanted to discuss the second half where you can do escrow. Escrow meaning where you're saving money with another party and they're matching that. In this case, family self-sufficiency. Now, to be very clear, the version of family self-sufficiency or FFS we're going to be discussing is going to be only about the escrow part. So if you're here to learn about family self-sufficiency in total, you'd want to watch one of my other videos. This is going to be just kind of pulling the important part of FSS that's going to be directly related to HUD homeownership program. Okay, just to be clear. All right, so we're going to do a recap real quick. I made a real big bullet list for HUD homeownership programs. So if you've had a voucher for about 1 year and you've successfully under HAP contract not violated your lease and you've been able to utilize the program without problems, you haven't angered your caseworker, if your housing authority offers it, you're going to want to check because not every housing authority in America offers HUD homeownership program. Some will argue there is a government list that will identify every housing authority in the nation that offers, but that's not true. What they'll do is give you a really long list of every housing authority, all 4,400, and they're not going to identify jack. So just get over that. For those of you that have been the internet sleuths out there that think you've got it all won. Look, I've been doing this a long time. If there was such a list exist, I would have told you already. All right, so gross income may not exceed 50% of AMI for the HUD homeownership program. Number two, nobody in the family composition that's 18 years or older must have owned a home in the last 3 years. If anybody in that home or under that voucher has owned a home, you can't participate. You'll have to wait. Employment status is required unless you are disabled or a senior on fixed income. So why would they put at the end of that, unless you're a senior or disabled, unless they intend for those of you with an income averaging around 900, a fixed income of 900 or more to be able to participate. So I don't want to hear any jack out of anybody about, oh my God, I've got such a low payment. I can only afford bread and butter. And so there'll be no home ownership program for me. Please stop with that. Okay. This obviously HUD as a federal agency, along with the Congress, already understands people do not have perfect credit. They understand you don't have a dime in your purse. They already know that. So to turn around and have a video where I'm going to argue that point that nobody ever thought of that one. Everybody's just dumb as a bag of hammers over at HUD. Nobody thought about that. Yes, they did. Okay, so hear me out. Now, if you've got a negative spirit, go ahead and just click off this channel and drive your car off a bridge because nobody wants to deal with that shit this morning, okay? But if you want to learn about HUD homeownership and how that correlates into family self-sufficiency, now, to be clear, family self-sufficiency is really designed for people with jobs. But for those lucky enough, well, I shouldn't say lucky, but for those that can't work, that are on a fixed income due to disability, whether physical, mental, or you're just simply a retiree, it means you can still participate. It means your rent responsibility goes into that, okay? So before you go click off and have a nervous breakdown, hang around for a minute. Good morning, Jolene Jennings. All right, so let's get to the rest of the part of HUD homeownership program. Now, for those of you that have a 640, now look, there are lots of people filled with opinions, especially these house flippers. They think they're experts in Section 8. Look, they don't know jack. They know how to talk on videos, but they're not an actual real consultant. So don't listen to that jazz about you have a 580 score. Look, if you want to get anywhere with this, you need a 640. If you don't have it, you've got plenty of time to work on that. I know that with our company, section8consulting.com, and I work with many clients to help figure out problems related to their credit, how to boost that, even people with bankruptcies, people that are serial not payers. You know, there's lots of circumstances. The U.S. government, as well as HUD, understood a long time ago, not everybody can pay all their bills. People are late. Sometimes they don't pay at all. Doesn't mean that eliminates you from this process. Must have at least $1,000 in personal savings. Well, we can eliminate that because if we look at escrow through family self-sufficiency, FSS, you're escrowing that over the duration. That program will allow you to have that kind of money in place, okay? Must have a minimum payment of 3% of the purchase price or 1% coming from personal savings. Look, again, there's a lot of programs that support down payment assistance at the federal, state, and county level. You're not going to need to look very far to be able to meet that requirement, okay? Doesn't mean you got to go out there and sell drugs, prostitute, and everything else, okay? Lots of way to do this, and I only meant that as a joke, guys. Look, don't take me too seriously on that one. PHA eligibility, in other words, have you followed the rules? Have you been indentured yourself? Have you pleased the worker? But really what it means is, have you violated anything? Or are they fixing to throw you out the program? So in other words, if you qualify, you qualify. And so, of course, the ending, you must meet inspections, your annual as well as monthly inspections if they offer that at your PHA. So that's the quick list. Now, we can get into all kinds of technicals here, but that's the quick list. All right. So, one, do we believe that we can spend a year or two of our life working towards the goal to make sure we have the right credit score in place? Or are we doing the right thing when we've had that voucher? Have we had it for at least a year? And let's talk about being real. Let's be super real here. Everything that you have that's led up to this point of you considering HUD homeownership and then using FSS to escrow money, all this is leading up to, in order for you to get that house and to get your dollar per dollar match through Family Self-Sufficiency, nothing like this is going to be easy. The more you're given, the more being offered means that more hellish it's going to be. Out of all things that are related to Section 8 housing and every other program at the federal level, this will be the most enduring. So if you're having mental breaks every other week and every other day and every other hour, this may not be for you. This is for people that can handle adversity. I find that my seniors, those 55 and older, do really well with this. My younger adults tend to, they tend to have a lot of problems. They don't know how to process a lot of effort. 2, do you believe that you can stick with it despite being treated badly by your caseworker, by your housing authority stressing you out? Can you go through all the processes? Are you willing to learn? Are you capable of that? Even those of you that have memory problems and other problems should not discount yourself against this. There's still a great potential because you're given time, a longer duration of time to be able to make it under this program. So it doesn't mean you need to become instantly. Jesus doesn't need to come down and touch you and heal you. It just means that you need to be able to survive a lot of adversity. Okay, you can't do that if you're self-centered. If you think the world owes you something, those type of people will not survive this program, okay? The other thing I'm going to tell you about this is if you're going to get involved in HUD homeownership program, which many of you have coined a phrase for called Section 8 homeownership program, that's not what it's called, then I would advise you work with a consultant. This is the problem. Like I said, this is the toughest part. That's the reason consultants literally exist, for this reason here. All right, so let's get on to escrows. Well, now I'm trying to pump you guys up a little bit. Your first year of escrowing money. So we want to think of escrow and family self-sufficiency, despite all the other jazz they give out. Go get a job for those that can work. We'll help you with your resume and all the other nonsense. It's worthless. In my opinion, the only thing worth anything out of the whole family self-sufficiency program is simply the ability to escrow money. And why is that? Because let's use an imaginary number here. Let's say we have $1,000 in rent. The housing authority is covering 70% or $700. You're paying out 30% of your income towards it. What you're paying out will be matched dollar per dollar to a maximum. There really is a $15,000 maximum on that. And it may max out at 5 years. You may get an extension top of that to additional 7 up to 2 years, equaling a total of participation of 7 years. Look, guys, you don't need to sit in family self-sufficiency for 5 to 7 years, okay? You exist in that program for a dollar match for as long as what's required for you to get the dollar match so you can get your foot in the door to get the house. You don't want to hang out there a half a century, okay? Now, for those that are super patient and that are fairly young, hey, sit on it. I mean, you can walk away with $50,000 in escrow, half of it coming from the U.S. government. So in my opinion, if the housing authority, if you're using your voucher amount the amount the housing authority is kicking in to pay your rent. Instead of paying the landlord's mortgage, you're paying your mortgage. When you pay your mortgage, it means that's equity. When you own the home, that's equity, money you can borrow against that you never even paid for. Now, granted, your escrow is the other 30% of the story, where you're asking, you're doing a 40, is basically a business 401k1. We're going to dollar per dollar match you for up to 5 or 7 years at a maximum cap of $15,000 a year if your rent standard is high enough, right? So it's basically a dollar match on a savings plan, and you're taking that escrow plan through Family Self-Sufficiency, and you're using that to weaponize your case for going out and purchasing a home. Because we did talk about the pre-requirements, right? And the pre-requirements being that you got to have 3% or 1% saved, so the escrow would meet that goal. So overall, I'm showing you the simple picture here of how you make two programs work together, despite you being on a fixed income, despite you being low income, despite you not having some big job, but your income may not exceed the 50% AMI, area minimum income. Let's give a overkill example of that. Let's say you live in Whiskey County. Most of the people in Whiskey County make $100,000 a year. It means that you may not make more than $50,000. Now, why would I even bother bringing this up? I don't even know why I need to, because obviously if you qualify for a voucher, then you're already below the 50% AMI. I don't know many people. Some of you have gone out and tried to get food stamps, and you get there and you only discover they're going to give you $12 in food stamps because your income's too high. Now, who the hell would want to report for that? In other words, there are some rare examples where people literally go through all this drama to get a $50 discount off their rent with a voucher that's virtually worthless to them. So I'll never understand that, frankly. Why would anybody want to go through all this shit? And then the ending result is, yep, you've got a voucher. We'll kick in $50 towards your rent, but we're going to require your soul every year, once a month. We're going to treat you badly, but you come get that $50 every month using that voucher. Why would you even bother? Well, there are some people that will reach the maximum line. In other words, they're just barely eligible to have that voucher, and they're looking for that coupon, $50 coupon. It's the silliest thing ever. But for most of you, it's a reality because you are low income. So speaking about HUD homeownership program, another thing we need to keep in mind is the monetary budget you're given. In other words, the housing authority approves you for a voucher and allows you to spend a maximum amount on an apartment. That would be likely the exact amount they're willing to let you spend on a mortgage. So if they're telling you can spend $1,200 a month to go rent a place, between your 30% due out of your income and the 70% they're kicking in, and the total amount that you may spend using that voucher is $1,200, then you should expect that when you walk into the bank and you get pre-qualified for $500,000, okay, this is a pretty extreme example, then what we want to look at is, all right, if the bank's granted me this amount, but I'm only going to be able to spend $1,200 a month on my mortgage. The amount your ability, how much you're allowed to spend, is going to be pretty much how you're going to have to get a house. So reverse math would tell you that your mortgage may not exceed $1,200, and so you'll be able to figure that out over a 15-year or 30-year range, depending on that. Now, I want to talk about caps. Caps are going to be whether or not the housing authority. Now, the housing authority is not going to continue to pay your mortgage for an eternity. They're not going to pay the whole house all for you. Okay, let's be honest here. If you've got a 30-year mortgage, and I know what some of you thinking, hey, I'm 78 years old. What are you talking about? Look, you're 78. You still get the house. You can still rent out all 9 bedrooms, make lots more money. Or you can go down there, the multifamily property, and you can listen to all the children scream at 3 a.m, the fucking dog that barks all day, or you can go live in your own little cottage house. It may not be the hottest thing in the neighborhood. So think about this, guys. And besides that, somebody can inherit the house and go on to pay the mortgage. So there's lots of pluses to this, despite how old you are. So for those of you that are 70 and 80 and 90, don't discount yourself on this. Why the hell would you want to turn away from a escrow, dollar per dollar match, plus ownership that you can literally transfer to a family member that probably is not responsible enough to ever own a home in their life, but they can pick up that mortgage, can't they, without having to even qualify? So you're leaving something behind, if nothing more. But the point is, you're unattaching yourself from your PHA because when you purchase a home, you own it. Now, the damn that housing authority or worker are going to march you around your own house. You own that. Okay. So what you're doing is you're releasing yourself from indenturement. The only time you should ever hear any sass out of the housing authority is when it's for them time to pay their portion of that damn mortgage. And of course, your responsibility on the contract. So for a lot of you, you're getting your freedom back. So the caps on this deal is once you qualify, you go through the program. And there's a lot involved here. I mean, you're working with a consultant, you're working with training classes, lender classes, the lender, a broker, an agent, a consultant. So there's a party of 5. This is not something you guys are gonna do overnight. Some of you are on the belief, I'm gonna hop in my Pinto and just fly down to the First National Bank and I'm gonna present my voucher for a free house. Don't be a stupid asshole, please. Don't come to me about that in this channel. If you're viewing this as that kind of measure, then you're not ready for anything but rainbows, unicorns, and fantasies. If you're here to be grown and think like an adult, then we can address it that way. But I don't have time for any nonsense, so I'm just letting you guys know. Now, if you're new to our channel, you might find me to be a little bit upfront, but that's okay. I'm from South Louisiana. We're born that way. It doesn't mean that I need to be highly professional in every moment. It's my channel, my video, right? So I'm going to do it the way, I'm going to teach it the way I want to teach it so we all understand it. Whether you're a prominent former doctor that got arrested and no longer can prescribe medications, or you're a former prostitute, or you're just an average soccer mom that maybe the husband left you and now you're on a voucher. I want to appeal to all interest, not just one version of people, all people. And to do that, I tend to be across the board. All right, so let me address some people that are live on our channel. Jolene Jennings, 5 years in waiting. Thank you very much. Julian Nielsen, I'm on FSS. Wait list is 8 to 10 months to go. Now we should talk in terms of this. Family Self-Sufficiency does not have a waiting list in every housing authority in America. Okay, just because a person may identify something in her channel or in her live chat doesn't suggest that your local PHA even has a waiting list. That's highly unusual. Okay. So do not take advice from each other in these live videos. Okay. What's going on? Let me tell you something about housing authorities. There are 4,400 of them. They follow federal guidelines, but they still operate like a little nation. In other words, their policies, procedures, data standards, and all other things included under their administrative plan are decided on the local market. In other words, what you're learning from another person about them and their experience at a PHA in the next county over is not going to be relevant to what you're doing in your county at your housing authority. Housing authorities do not operate unilaterally. The rules are very much different for all. However, they all must still meet federal guidelines under Title 24 in the way they administrate programs, qualify people. This is the danger of people writing articles all over YouTube, Google, lending advice based on their local market. Well, your advice in Detroit or your advice out there in Florida, Nashville, Tennessee, isn't going to be relevant to the next person that lives in Minnesota. Your experience with your housing authority and that zip code is going to be completely different somewhere else, and your advice to the next person over will be useless unless you do what I do, where we work with clients across the nation. It's my job to understand the practicalities of all PHAs because this is a federally funded program. So it's my requirement to understand how each and every administrative plan for every PHA in the nation works. Now, do I actually know them all? No, I do not. I think I probably addressed 40% of them over a quarter of a century. I'll never see them all unless I'm 90. And who knows, I may just be like the rest of you guys. I may work till I die or my bones break, because I really don't see that in the day and age we live in, there's no such a thing as a retirement anymore. The only thing you're going to retire to is your coffin. I got people, I'm walking to Walmart, people 108 years old, and they're still pushing buggies and sitting at the checkout. So that's an old way of thinking. Retirement, the only retirement you get is a wooden box, and off you go. All right, so lady of the house, I completed the home ownership certificate last July, gave myself a year to pay university debt, now waiting for the market to drop after elections. That's a smart move because sadly, interest rates have been all over the map, and they did their 10-year high. We're at 7%. Look, guys, when we have interest rates that high, it's more like dealing with a loan shark. Good news is the feds aren't going to allow any of the lenders. So when you go out to lenders, you're not going to go pick your own lender. The housing authority and the federal government say they're going to give you a list of non-shark lenders. You must choose from those lenders. You're not going to hop in your car and just drive around and go get your own private loan. You're not going to get tied up with some house flipper doing pay rent to your own bullshit either. They're not going to. The federal government's not going to do none of that. You'll deal with Fannie Mae, Fannie Mac, and the rest, along with regular ordinary lenders with ordinary rates, not 7%. More than likely, you get a better interest rate than probably people that work a job with no voucher. Ethereal Goddess, can you reopen FSS? Well, it can be reopened. It can be arbitrated. You can even sue the housing authority. It really depends. If you've had problems or there's been a problem fundamentally while you participated in that program and you're no longer in it and would like to get back in it, I'd say reach out to my office so we can discuss what that might involve and what happened, why you're no longer in it. April, if you have filed for a bankruptcy, would that be an issue? No. Let me tell you something, guys. If you've been hit with a bankruptcy, I don't care if you've had 3 of them, that's not going to be an issue in terms of completion of the program. Now, there may be some banks that may object if it's too soon, okay? It means when you meet lender requirements, they're going to be looking back and underwriting and see, okay, is this the only problem this person's got, or is every debt they got 25 credit cards they've never ever even bothered to pay? It's going to look strongly at your credit score. And look, guys, you running around and getting your free credit score from your banking app, that's a joke. There are two. Let's be clear about credits. One, there are different credit types out there. Your FICO 9 has nothing to do with purchasing a home. So in other words, you're getting that banking app. You open up, oh, my credit score is 5,083. I can get anything. No, you can't, because that's your credit card score. You have car loan scores, which are a different FICO. And I believe FICO number 5 is the one they look at for houses. Good news is that old cheap score you get from the free banking app and all these other free apps you've got. Those are what they call Vantage scores. They're not even FICO scores. So it's a combination of Vantage score and FICO score. If you want to know your real FICO, don't go to all these scammy little credit services. Go to myfico.com, the actual FICO company, myfico.com. Pull all 3 credit bureaus and get your actual real score. If you want to get your Vantage score, it's going to be tougher because funny thing is, think about every financial institution out there offers free scores. You need to figure out which one they're from. Is it from Experian, TransUnion, so on? And what's going to suck is you're going to need them from all 3. And nobody offers all 3 Vantage scores. And a lot of these pretty numbers you're getting, my credit's so high, a lot of that are Vantage scores. That's less used than the actual MyFICO. And when you do MyFICO, there's FICO 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There'll be a 10 soon. The one you're looking for is FICO 5. That's what lenders are looking at in terms of home loans. They're not looking at your free banking app score. So let's be crystal clear. There's a lot you guys can do within 6 months to greatly improve your scores. A lot of you have debts that can be negotiated down to 40% or even dropped off. Now, the delusional thing you guys don't want to do, there's no such a thing as paying lawyers. I've seen it all. Lawyers advertise, oh, yeah, we'll do this and this. Yeah, they'll probably get one thing knocked off. You get stuck with the rest, and all they're going to do is try to settle the debt. You could have did that shit yourself, okay? You don't know how to do that. Reach out to my office. I'll show you how you can negotiate your own debt, how to pressure those people, and probably get about a 60% off that debt that you owe, and that's only for removal, okay? All these morons trying to sell you these programs, that's all a joke. All that shit you could do yourself. I went through it with several clients, and they were shocked. Now, they were willing to give over that $100 a month shit for 2 years. You know what that means when you pay those people in these programs, even the ones that are lawyers? All that is basically you're just paying for their wine dinner every Saturday. Okay, their steak dinner every Saturday. You know why? Because there's no incentive. They're going to drag their ass for 2 years trying to deal with your stuff. just slowly. And it won't even be the attorney that does it. They'll send it to some poor paralegal that retired 90 years ago. She's going to put out some cheap ass emails, and you're going to pay these people $100, $200 a month. Some of them want $9,000 down, stupid stuff. All that you can do, it's not rocket science. Okay. On to April. If you file for bankruptcy, would that be an issue? Okay, so I addressed that. So moving back, we have two coordinated programs: HUD Homeownership Program, qualifying for that one, and then we have Family Self-Sufficiency, escrowing money, $2 for $1 on that. Combining the both programs will prepare you. If you guys are looking for a HUD consultant, there's many, or you can come to my office about it. We can help you as well. We offer casework. I'm not here to sell anybody anything, just be clear. If you have questions or you're one of these people that have a really high IQ, you could probably just book a short appointment with our office if you like the information we've conveyed here. And then we can teach you kind of as you go. I know lots of people like to do it that way. So, all right, I'm not going to turn this video in too much longer. I wanted y'all to be intimate with both HUD Homeownership Program and Family Self-Sufficiency, so you can understand how you can kind of double your money on Family Self-Sufficiency. And under the HUD Homeownership Program, instead of paying your landlord's mortgage, you're now going to be paying the mortgage to your house, which that free money that rolls into your mortgage is equity that you can actually loan against, pull back. Every bedroom is a place you can rent. The garage in the backyard, dog walking and storage. There's lots of ways to monetize the house. You could end up actually better off financially owning the home than you ever were on a voucher. And for those disabled seniors and those on very short incomes, around 900 or lower, this program, Congress and HUD thought about that already. Don't disqualify yourself. You should try. I don't care if you're 90, because you're leaving something behind, probably for that grandkid you can't control, that's too stupid to ever own a home in his life. Well, you could leave him something where he could probably just pay the mortgage. So you can help somebody even on your way to the wooden box. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody in their 90s go in the wooden box. People live a long time these days, but you get my point. Now, here's the biggest argument of all that I mentioned in the last video. Oh, well, I can't deal. I got so much going on. Well, let's talk about, I've got too much going on. I can't handle this and that. It wasn't too much when you didn't have any money and you couldn't pay no rent. So you went out there and you indentured yourself and went and applied for a voucher. It wasn't too much when you waited 28 years to get the voucher. It wasn't too much when you got the voucher and you allow somebody to talk to you like a $2 trick on 3rd Street every week when you dealt with your casework. It wasn't too much then either. It wasn't too much when you sit there and you barely had $1 for bread and butter. It wasn't too much then, but now this is too much. I don't want to hear any shit about you can't deal with it. In fact, I would believe in my mind that people that have gone through from point A to point Z and all the shit you go through in order to get a voucher, that you are a perfect candidate for dealing with bullshit. In other words, you're better armed than the average person. So I don't want to hear, oh, well, I can't do it. I'm just a little too fluffy today. That's too much for me. I don't want to hear that, because a lot of you can deal with adversity like no other. I figure if they ever popped a nuclear bomb, there are two types of people who are going to last the longest out here. People that went through all the shit they had to go through to get a voucher, and those that are homeless. Everybody else will probably die early. Why? Because they don't understand how to deal with hard times. You people do. You have the perfect set of skills for this. You know how to survive under stress, pressure, with a low amount of money, and you know how to do it without taking your own life. I can't think of anybody out there better qualified to get through and get a voucher, to get a home, to deal with family self-sufficiency. This is just another walk in the park. But don't get me wrong, guys. This is not a walk in the park. You're going to get treated badly. It takes a while to do it. It's a 2-year commitment. The people in the housing authority are going to try to burn you at every twist, probably, because I've seen a lot of people try to participate, and then one way or another, they get rid of you, okay? So that's why it's really important to work with an office that deals in this program, to work with a consultant, because you want to do this. You want to do it not the easy way. You want to do it the intelligent way. If the only source of information you got are the very people that are willing to talk to you badly and kick you out the program, you don't want to do that. That'd be a lot like you being arrested by a cop, and then you think, oh, I'm going to report this jerk. You arrive at the police station only discovered that the very people that are going to investigate are going to be the cop that beat you up. Don't depend on the housing authority to be your sole interest to answer your questions. You're making a deal with the devil is what you're doing, okay? Not literally, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Let the housing authority do what it does best, other than talk badly to people and treat them badly. They can give you a voucher, and if you're smart enough, you'll get a house out of this deal. And if you're even smarter, you'll get a house with a whole lot of dollar match. Walk away with 20 grand. 10 of it, their money, okay? If you're smart. If you're not smart, then you'll leave this video. You'll think you're the smartest person in the room. You're going to go mess with this, and then you're going to leave teary-eyed when you invest 5 years of your life. You did everything the hard way, and you end up empty-handed. Now, I'm not suggesting you guys can't do it on your own, but it would be pretty stupid to not take the advice of somebody that's done it thousands of times. So you have every reason. You got a reason because you've got children. You've got a reason because you're disabled and you need something to focus on, something that's going to bring something to your life. You've got a reason because you're a senior and you want to leave your family something. You've got a reason because there ain't nothing else going on. You've got a reason because you don't want to be indentured and treated badly and told what to do like a kindergarten for the rest of your life. Rule number 1, get the voucher. Rule number 2, advance, move on. Own a home and move on. Rule number 3, if you're going to be offered a handout and they're going to make you walk through the gates of hell for it, then do it right. Don't sit there and indenture yourself the rest of your life. Let me go get my plantation payment. I'm living on the plantation. They're giving out plantation vouchers. Let me roll on down there and get my free $5 and pay my rent. Nah, move it up. I want you guys to do better for yourself. If you survived all this and you've been in that program greater than 1 year holding that voucher, it's time for you to take the last step in this process. And that's for you to own a home. If your housing authority doesn't own it in your zip code in your county, then it's time to start looking statewide. Who offers it so I can move my ass there? This is the end. There's nothing to brag about when you go down to Luby's or the chicken dinner place and you tell all your friends, well, I've had my voucher 20 years. I feel successful. No, you're not. You're an asshole for not improving, not moving on. This is the last step, guys. This is what you need to do in order to have something. Leave this old world with something. Have some semblance of actually graduating the American dream. You own it. Now, the U.S. government's afforded you this opportunity. Now, whether or not you want to take it or not, that's your business. But that's why I'm here, to see you through it. Well, guys, I've enjoyed talking with you. I felt like I preached a little bit, but I've definitely enjoyed talking with you guys today. We're going to pick this up again tomorrow. I've been on a tear, making lots of videos lately, and the reason why is I think we're behind. I think the holidays are coming. We're on the cusp of holidays. Happy Halloween for a lot of you. For those that are practicing other religions, happy falling leaves and pumpkins. Now's the time to do this, guys. Whether you're going to go out there and decide for the first time, you're going to let your humility talk and allow yourself to apply for a voucher. If you got them, then look at the HUD homeownership program and do this the smart way. You know, the one lesson that lasted the longest in my entire life was I was 9. My grandmother came up one day, and I didn't know what he meant by this at the time. He said, boy, work smart, not hard. I'm conveying that same message to you guys regarding home ownership and vouchers. Do this smartly, not the hard way. Don't be the fool people laughing about. It's no great honor to sit there and sit on a voucher for 20 years. It just means that you're probably crazier than you thought you were, because anybody that sit on a voucher that long probably has a loose screw. Graduate. And I mean that comically. Please don't go home and take it personally. I don't want y'all to get upset while you go to church, but I'm just saying it's time to move on. You step it up. You own the house. You own all the rooms. Everything can be rented. Everything can be monetized. And those of you that don't believe in yourself, talk to somebody that will believe in you, okay? Not everybody in the world's friendly. Not everybody in the world has your best interest in mind. I certainly do. All right, I'm going to address these last comments, and I'm going to move on. My days are convoluted as usual, getting up at 3 a.m. Sometimes I don't rest my head till, midnight. But you see, I'm determined. And that's what I'm hoping a lot of you guys are going to get, determination. But look at all the negative stuff, man. The world's filled with that. All right, lady in the house. Let's see. There you go, God. Auntie April, if you file for bank, okay, we already answered that one. Or house bills. So let's talk about it, the types of houses real quick. Since the pandemic, there have been many changes at the congressional level that will allow things like apartments, houses, riverboats, tiny homes, trailers. If you got 200 square foot on the ceiling, now there are some exception rules here they're not going to permit. In other words, you're not going to put a crack house on a trailer and then nail her down to the rail and then drive through town and call it a home, okay? So if you're trying to do something special, Louisiana style, it may not be possible. And if it's going to be a riverboat, I got to look into that one. I think that's curious you brought it up. It reminds me of people out in my home state, Louisiana, where you get that pontoon boat on the swamp, or those of you in Florida. And that could be more applicable in other places in the nation, but I haven't lived everywhere. So I suppose, guys, you chime in. If you have lived on a riverboat in any state, I'd love to hear your story. And it's got, I know Florida, there's not much difference between a riverboat and just a normal boat and people living on them. People have always done it. It's just more prominent in other areas. Lou Man, Shadow Boy, does California have FSS program? Let's be clear. Family Self-Sufficiency is a federal program. It's offered in all states. Now, whether or not one of the hundreds of housing authorities throughout the state is going to be offering that program, well, you got to check and see. That's a lot of work. Same thing with Homeownership program. There's not a national database of it. You're going to sit down, you look at every county in the state, and you got to do work. A lot of people don't want to do that work, so they contact my office, or they'll open up casework with us, or you call another consultant. Again, there is no national list. Now HUD has a list. They'll just give you every housing authority, and then you pick up the phone 8,000 times. You got to figure out how much energy you want to expend doing it. Well, guys, I've enjoyed talking with you. We'll see you back tomorrow between 10 a.m. Central and 11. And yes, I'm always punctually late for my own videos because I have a life too, and sometimes I'm just late. All right, guys. Well, enjoy the nice, fresh, cool weather if you live in an area of the world where that allows for it. I know we're getting some out here in Texas, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.